As many of you might be aware, Doctor Who will be on hiatus next year. This was deeply saddening news for me because I first started watching the series right at the end of last year, so that means I've more or less been able to watch series 1 through 6 without any interruptions. So I thought to myself, how will I survive a whole year without my new favorite show? What will I do without the sonic screwdriver, the TARDIS, and the bananas and trainers and fezzes? But don't worry, because I know how this all works out. I decided to spend the year watching all the episodes of classic Doctor Who I could find. Literally start from the beginning and work my way back up to Eccleston, Tennant, and Smith. I've seen clips from the era of Tom Baker, but that's about as much experience as I've had with the pre-revival series. It's all very new to me. But being impatient, I couldn't wait until the end of the current series to start, so I'm using crossingtheuniverse.com to watch the old series, starting with William Hartnell in 1963. So I've already seen it, and An Unearthly Child and the Daleks, but it's really hard to watch by myself without telling someone about it or commenting on it because it's just that old. So I thought I'd sum up my experiences with those episodes now. An Unearthly Child is really a collection of several episodes, about 22 to 24 minutes long. It starts off with Ian Chesterton, and Barbara Wright, who are these two teachers, one Ian's physics, Barbara's history, at a high school in London in 1963, and they're talking about this student they have, and they're like, she's really weird, she knows, like, all these physics problems, she doesn't know that we're, like, what monetary system we're using in England, and this girl is Susan Foreman, and they kind of like, she's weird, and she lives in strange, so basically, they decide to be like creepy pedos, and they follow her home to a junkyard where they meet the doctor. The first time they meet him, it's kind of like they start calling him, they're like, Dr. Foreman, and he's like, Doctor Who, and you're like, yeah. And he's not Dr. Foreman, they end up just sort of calling him Doctor, which, more used to. So they meet him, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're inside this police box, but I walked all around it, and it's bigger on the inside. How is that possible? And you're like, well, yeah, it's the TARDIS. Of course it's bigger on the inside. So, they're all mind blown by it, and the doctor's kind of like, damn, they know our secret, we can't let them go. And then something with Susan and the doctor, and they're kind of like, no, you have to let them go, Grandpa. And he's all like, no, they know our secret. They'll tell everyone. You're like, right, because we don't already know. And somehow or other, I end up hitting some buttons, and the TARDIS goes flying off. Okay, let me just say that when the TARDIS first takes off, and I heard that whirring noise it makes, I was just like, yes. Because the noise really hasn't changed in 48 years. And so you hear that noise, and you just think, and the adventure begins! You're just so familiar with it. You're like, yeah, they're going! Yeah, alright. So, anyway, moving on. They get whisked off in a really old version of the TARDIS, and they meet what I assumed were cavemen. The unibrows, bad teeth, and animal furs kind of tipped me off. There's some sort of power struggle going on between two of the cavemen, and knowing how to make fire decides who becomes the leader of the tribe. Blah, blah, blah. The doctor and his companions all get captured, no surprise there. And then this old woman who's like, you can't make fire, it'll bring destruction to the tribe, and she shows them the way out. They run. Literally, run. There's a lovely scene, and it looks so fake now, because you basically just see them, and it's, their heads, and then they're like, oh my god, we gotta get away, and you're kind of like, yeah, we get it, you're supposed to be running. And my reaction to that entire scene, it lasts for a while too, and my reaction just the whole time is like, the running will never stop. Never! Ha 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 ha! Because it's Doctor Who and running! Ah, how can you not love the running? So there's this whole thing where one of the cavemen who wants to be leader and his girlfriend essentially go after them. And he gets attacked by some bear or something, or a big cat. And they save him, they treat him, make his wounds better. And they drive out the other guy because he got the whole tribe to think that it's very weird and not really that important. Basically, they all get captured again. And while they're sitting in this cave of skulls, Ian makes fire just sitting there by rubbing two sticks together, and they give it to the caveman who came after them, named Za, in the hopes that he'll release them and set them free. And of course he doesn't, because he's like, no, they know how to make fire. I'm not going to let them go. So they trick everyone in the tribe. They use animal fat, and they take some of the skulls, and they rub the skulls in animal fat and set the skulls on fire. And then when everyone's like, oh my god, they're burning alive, they sneak out through the back and get back into the TARDIS. One of my favorite lines from this episode comes at the end, once everyone's back in the TARDIS, and it's, they're flying again, and Ian looks at the Doctor and says something like, are you taking us back to our own time now? The Doctor just looks at him and is like, well, the best I can tell you is that we left that one. And Ian's like, you mean to tell me you don't know how to fly this thing? And the Doctor's basically like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing at all. I really, it's like, I have to fix my position. And you're like, way to go, buddy. You really don't know what you're doing.